Scano, Sego, Ani, Bonjour, hello everyone. It's been a while since we've been live here for a talk series, but I'd just like to um, welcome everyone, introduce myself. I'm Jody Harbour, and I'm a co-founder of Grandmother's Voice, an organization that started in the Halton region. It was really something guided by our grandmothers, our elders, and ancestors when we acknowledged that we really needed support to connect with our communities and our culture. And so we're so grateful that we built this platform through COVID with the just really with the guidance of the elders and the grandmas who said we need to be able to reach the people. And so I guess I was brave enough to say I'll do it. Just throwing myself out there, and so I'm grateful that I've continued to have the courage to be in this space and place. And I thank my ancestors for supporting this journey. It has brought together so many people that are, like this series says, returning home. And so before we speak to our guest today, I'd just like to take this moment in time to acknowledge this beautiful sun today, acknowledge all of the people that will be joining us at some point, whether it's in this moment or later down the road, on our platforms, and just acknowledge you that continue to show up and support the voices that are coming on this platform and in our space as well, our virtual space, and then and wherever we've been showing up in community. And I just again would like to continue to be sharing the thanks and gratitude for what the Creator provides for us. And days like today, when we woke up to this beautiful sun and in the energy of the eclipse and all of these beautiful energies that we share together, and we're able to to really embrace what our culture is telling us that is important for our well-being, to notice these seasons and the cycles of everything from our trees and the grass and the winds and the skies and everything that's provided for us. And so just knowing that I can't have the time today to acknowledge everything that is provided for us, I want to again just express gratitude and love for being in this time together where we are ready to embrace our culture and share what we know with people to heal collectively. And these are the words and the teachings that I have been being shared with the elders that continue to walk with us on this journey of really just making the space for people to come together and share their stories. So, Nyawa, thank you, Winley, my dog, who obviously has a lot to share. What I'd like to do is just really speak about for a moment the title of this series, which is Stories of Our Nations. And this is how we're going to come to meet Pamela, who's our guest speaker today, and Pamela Devonshire, who has an amazing story. And we're just so honored that, you reached out to us through another sister who continues to support this work with Grandmother's Voice and continues to support community. But before we go further, we just thought it was really cool to, in Treaty Week, acknowledge the stories of our nations, start this speaker series, speak about the journeys returning home. And then also just knowing that today, is Indigenous Veterans Day. So very dear to many of us whose families have, stood up and, have been brave in this time in the past. And then again, just being able to, in this moment, be able to acknowledge that as Indigenous people, we are here. We are here, and our voices are here. Our stories are coming through. And so Nyawa Goa, actually, for the elders, the grandmas that have put together the name of this series, Stories of Our Nations, Journeys Returning Home. And we hope that this will continue. And I'd like to just welcome Pamela Devonshire, who has just an amazing story. And I really wanted, I would love to give you this space to introduce yourself. I know you're here in Toronto, that's where you live, but your ancestors and your stories and your journey home is beautiful. And please introduce yourself and welcome so much from my heart to yours for taking time to share your story with us.
Seiko, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Thank you, Jody, for that lovely introduction. It's great to be here. I'm really excited and happy to be here. As Jody mentioned, we have a mutual friend that it was, I think, really meant to be that our friendship has started and that we're here together today because I feel like my journey really has been to return home. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So as Jody said, I live in Toronto, Toronto. It's my home. I've grown up here. My journey started a few years ago when I discovered our family ancestry. So, just to kind of give you a little, background on myself. So, I have two children. I live here in Toronto, and I live with my amazing kids, my son and my daughter, and I have a wonderful partner, and they've been extremely supportive on this journey as well. It kind of goes back into really the 1800s when my great great grandfather felt it was necessary for whatever reason to hide our identity, which was Mohawks from the Bay of Quinte, Tyendinaga. It was during the 1800s, a very tumultuous time for Indigenous people here in Canada. So he did what he felt was best. Unfortunately, our ancestors and our family grew up really not knowing our ancestry, and that's a very sad fact. It wasn't until my grandfather passed that we, discovered documents that led us to understand that my grandmother had actually lost her status because she married a non-Indigenous person, and was still hiding that reality. So after many talks and research, she was able to apply to regain her status, and some family members, including myself, dug into the history, and I ended up doing extensive research to discover that we're direct descendants to Captain and Chief John Deseronton, who was the one of the founders of the Mohawk Territory in Tyendinaga. So as a result of all this research, I felt really compelled to bring this story forward. I did a lot when I was doing my research. I found there was absolutely no children's literature available at all to talk about this iconic leader. And so I thought, well, I have enough research here to put together a story and a book to share with people, and that's what brings me here today. It's that journey of self-discovery, and I feel like I've journeyed home, and I've since reconnected to the community. They've welcomed me with open arms. I've found long lost cousins. It's been an incredible and moving experience, and I'm just so thrilled to be here today to share it with everyone.
Oh, it's awesome. And the story's returning home basically, right? That's what we're calling it. And I remember the first time that I met my relatives, and that's pretty much what grandmother Renee, said to me when I met her. And it was, welcome home. And she had created this genealogy group that she was preparing for this time. And it's, and we really we're living in this time of great prophecies. And so I know just from talking with you a little bit, Pamela, that, there's been a lot of inspiration for you to get to where you are today. And so why don't you share a little bit about that inspiration that kind of, moved you to write these books and share a little bit about that.
Okay, I'd be happy to, Jody. So when I was doing my research, I actually learned that Deseronton means where the lightning has struck. So I kind of took that as a reference point, and I decided to name my book publishing company Lightning Spark Books, as you can see in my name there, because I felt that I was a little spark of what John Deseronton had started when he founded Tyendinaga, and what he was trying to do to help his people. And unfortunately, as I kicked it off by saying that was hidden for many generations, we don't have to hide anymore. We can be proud of who we are and show our resilience. And that's what really inspired me to share that story and that spark, and to instill that into my children. And so my daughter is a good example. So I'll give you one example. She's attending Queen's University, and she's been very involved with the Four Directions office there with the student center. She started off as a volunteer, and then now she's since taken a job there as a program assistant program manager, and they're doing some really fantastic work there and helping the Indigenous students. So again, making an impact, getting out there. And I myself too, I find that that spark has really inspired me. I work for a large crown corporation, and that's kind of ironic, right? But anyway, I've joined an Indigenous reconciliation group, and we've done some really impactful things. We were among the first to acknowledge and recognize Red Dress Day, Orange Shirt Day. We put together our own design and we sold shirts at cost to employees to acknowledge and recognize the date. I've done many talks, and I've spoken at events at the organization I work for. So I'm finding that there's just, this is just the beginning. There's so much work to do and to make an impact and to get out there.
That's awesome. Thank you. And I think, again, from part of our conversation, but conversations that I have regularly with urban Indigenous people in general, that are connecting to their culture and then actually taking up, that the space in their workplace to say, hey, let me lead these. Let me be the one to lead this work within our organization and give me that space. And I think that is huge, because that is an opportunity for Indigenous people within their organization to take a leadership, and then at the same time be able to make sure that their organizations are safe, and then they still are, still learning, connecting to culture, and they're like at the front line, being able to choose, or have a voice in what is, being brought into their organization. So, Nyawa for doing that, because I also know that there are so many people within organizations that don't know how to self-identify, that haven't been given opportunities. And so what I do know from my own experiences is that when someone shows up with similar similarities, that's what really opens the door for people to show up and say, I want to know more. I'd love to do this together. And so, good for you for doing that, and just really, having, I guess, that passion and, to push you, move you. So, from a compelling place, there's also more, because we know this about being Indigenous. One of the main, I guess, principles is acknowledging spirit, and that it's a part of us. And that's another thing that was suppressed, or, from our people. And so was there any of that in all of this, that moved you to do this?
Actually, that's a really good question, Jody. And I have to say, yes, absolutely. It was like there was this voice inside my head, and I think you get it. People might think, that I'm crazy, but really, it was almost as though, Captain John's voice was in my head saying, you can do this. Get out there, spread the word, spread the message. Don't worry about obstacles that may get in your way. Learn to work around them, and I did. So those obstacles that came into my path, it just led me to be more resilient, more determined. And in a way, they kind of helped me, because I just became more fierce in my approach to making sure I did this. So I really felt that my ancestor was speaking through me, and this was, one of his wishes. And I kind of tried to convey that through the stories, that, it's not just about the community, because that's very important, but it's about so much more, and getting the message out there. So I felt that was one of the compelling things that I was really had to do. It was just in me. And I felt like for the longest time, something was missing, in my life. And it was like there was a missing piece. And when we finally dug into the ancestry and we figured it out, I thought, that's it. That was the missing piece. And as I reached back into the community and made connections, and met more and more people, it just seemed to fit, and it just came together for me. And so now I feel whole. It's really interesting, but that was what I had to do.
And I think it just, just saying that your ancestors' voice guides you. That's one of the first. I remember that's one of the first teachings that I held from the grandmas, when they were showing, guiding me, leading me on my journey to healing and understanding our culture and, histories, and how to really live your life in the fullest, is trusting that our ancestors are that close to us, enough to know that if you open your heart and your mind and your wholeness, that that just knowing that they're there to support us and looking for those little messages and signs is real, and it makes things come to fruition in a tangible way. And that's what they say, is that our true thoughts and words, if we're really grounded, are the voices of our ancestors coming through. So I totally trust that, and I love it, and I love where we're going with these, you know, the storytelling in the books, because I'd love to, you know, you to start talking about some of that, because I know, I mean, we could talk for hours. We talked a long time even last night getting caught up. So there's, I'd love for you to get to the books, but I know that there's been, like, you did a launch in September, you've already been doing this, you know, all of this stuff is so quick. So if you don't mind, let's talk about that, and then we can get into a little bit of the content of your books and stories, because I love how you have been just weaving things together, which is what I think our culture is all about, making things, you know, have purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just like you said, putting it out there and just trusting in, you know, the spirits, your higher power to make it come through. I'll just tell you a little story about an example of that. One of the challenges I had was to find an artist. So I kind of went traditional routes, tried to contact people that I knew were Mohawk artists. You know, people are busy, right? So unfortunately, the people I approached, you know, were not able to help. And so I kind of thought, well, you know, this is a big challenge. I'd have a children's book with no illustrations. What am I going to do? So I released it out there. I let it go. And it came to me in a very surprising manner. So I had just joined a group called Quabiz. It was for a business accelerator for Indigenous women led by Shira and Rye Barberstock. And there was a wonderful young lady in that group, talented Mi'kmaq artist, but she was more into painting. So I kind of had thought initially not to ask her. Plus, she had a 2-year-old and a baby on the way. So I thought she's too busy. So, you know, I was kind of chatting with Shira and Rye about it. And they said, you know, and I asked their opinion. They said, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. So I asked Kendra if she'd be interested in illustrating a book, something she's never really done before. And you know what she said? I'd be honored to. So what I learned, a valuable lesson, don't assume. Don't rule people out, and don't assume, because help will come to you in surprising and different ways. So so that's another kind of valuable lesson that I learned along this journey, that you know, people will surprise you. People that you think will help you, maybe they're busy. That's okay. And then people that you don't expect will be there for you. So that's an incredible part of the journey.
One
And
of the
just kind of pulling it all together, just to answer your question. So I'm
Mhm,
getting like sidetracked.
love it.
But so that was the big component of it. So then I had the challenge of, you know, printing and the layout. So again, I put it out there and I thought, I'm just going to like let it go. It's hard to explain, but you just let it go out
It
into the
was
universe. I would bring it up casually in conversations. And again, people that you would expect that might be able to do it, they couldn't. So then I belong to a mother's group. I mentioned I have a son and a daughter. So I have this group of moms that live in Toronto, in my area. And one of them does graphic design, but mostly for, you know, business. So I asked her if she, you know, she'd be interested. And again, she'd be honored to. She grew up in the Belleville area, is familiar with Tyendinaga, the Mohawk territory, you know, not Indigenous, but she actually did the logo design for the CCAB, the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business. So she had a lot of insights, and she did just a fantastic layout and design for the books. And then finally, you know, looking for a printer, that was a huge challenge. Again, just put it out there. You know, I do work for a Crown corporation that is involved with printing. And I happened to ask someone, and she again said, I'd be happy to. And I said, you know, would you like to promote that, put it on your website, anything like that? Nope, it's a good cause. And I'd be happy to do it. And I should mention that what I'm doing is, while I'm selling these books, it's a little bundle that I've written 3 children's stories. And as I was going through my journey, I reached out to the current Language and Cultural Center in the Mohawk Territory, Tyendinaga, it's the TTO. And I had the privilege of meeting the senior executive director, Callie Hill, who works there, and she's been so helpful in helping me. She translated the foreword of the book into Mohawk, and she provided a likeness of Captain John to me that they did a composite because there's no known photographs or paintings of him. And so I made that decision along my journey to sell the books and donate all the net proceeds to the construction of the new language and cultural center that's being planned for the territory. And because of all my fabulous friends and colleagues, they have been donating their services for next to nothing. I've had very few expenses. So when I say net proceeds, it's almost everything's going to the donation of the new Language and Cultural Center. Right now, they're situated kind of sharing space in the library, and their plan is to have the language school and the center, and it's quite a wonderful and lovely design. And they have the land, and so they're raising funds for the construction. So the printer, and I'll give her a plug, it's Marketing Kitchen. She printed 1,000 of each book, so I have 3,000, and it's a bundle of 3, and I'm selling them for $25. So I figure I'll be close to raising $25,000 for the new Language and Cultural Center. So again, this is where the journey has led me. Thank you. This is where the journey has led me to meeting people in community, and I feel like I'm kind of like an in-betweener. I have now new friends that I've made in Tyendinaga in community, and I'm leveraging my friends here in Toronto that are helping me with this endeavor. So I feel really very grateful and very honored to know such wonderful people.
And supported, right?
Yes,
Like
completely
support is
supported and
so
loved.
important.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so important on these journeys. And one thing I learned early in my like entrepreneurial, career as a woman is you have to talk about it all the time. Wherever, and you have to be confident and talk about it, because that's how people come, right? And that's how you engage people in your passion project. We are in a time right now where people want to understand action. What can we do to do this alongside and be a part of it? And how can we inspire and hold you up? So it's just such a beautiful story, Pamela. I'm so happy for you. And I know that you've been since this, like this is since September. Like
Yes.
it's been working fast, right? So
Yes.
you did that, you've done a launch. And so talk a little bit about that. And then, we can get into reading. Maybe you can read a couple spots from these beautiful, I have them all here. And I've been reading them and just like loving just the essence of them, and know that when I'm reading them, it's like, wow, there's stories in this. This is, a lot of stories in here that, I think that you've ignited some really amazing energy in your community. And so anyway, yeah, tell us what it's been like first, because I know how busy it can be launching something.
Yeah, you understand. It's very busy. So I do have a full-time job on top of this with some, vacation time that I've been using up. But essentially, with working through the layout, and I should mention it was my friend Wendy Gray, who is the owner of Gravity Inc., another plug for my friend. But again, very grateful for her beautiful layout and design work that she did. I honestly could not have done it without her. I have no idea how to design a book. And she did 3 on her own time. To help out the project. So thank you now, and to all my lovely friends. You guys are awesome. So yes, I received the books on September 22nd, had a call with Callie Hill, who's, the executive director at TTO. And she said, hey, if you can make it, we have a concert in Picton at Base 31 with Digging Roots. Would you like to come? Because Digging Roots is going to be donating their net proceeds from the concert sale tickets and the merchandise to the Language Center. And I said, you know what? I would love to. So, I got the books, packed it all up, went out to Picton Base 31, and my awesome daughter, Stephanie, was able to help me kind of put the booth together. So we had a little table beside, the different artists that were there, the singers, the bands. It was just us, there was no one else, no other vendors, because, our mission and our goal was to donate the proceeds back to community, back to TTO. And so we attended the concert, and my goodness, what a band. Amazing. Love them. Oh, it was wonderful. And I have to say, it was wonderful being there, because it was one of the first, I don't think it was the first, but it was one of the first collaborations between the community of Picton and Tyendinaga. I mean, Callie got up and gave a very moving and meaningful talk about that too. Just if you're familiar with it, there's the Picton, Bay of Quinte with that Skyway big bridge that's under construction, and then on the other side is Tyendinaga. But the two communities have not had a lot of involvement with one another. So this was a real coming together, and I felt, oh, I was so moved and honored to be there at that event. It was just absolutely amazing. And people would be coming up to me and sharing their stories of reconnecting to their ancestry that was hidden. And I didn't expect that. That was something. Now I can see how obviously that's going to happen. But because I had the books for 2 days, got them on the Thursday, was at the event on the Saturday. What a whirlwind! And that's what was happening. And again, it was just so meaningful for people to share with me and my daughter, their journeys, their ancestry, and their thoughts and feelings about it. It was really, really incredible. So that was the first event. The next event that I went to, and my amazing partner Matt helped me so much with this too, was I approached the Native Renaissance art and gift shop in Tyendinaga, and they too were very eager to help and carry the books. And they've sold quite a few sets to date. But they were also on September 30th, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. They were putting on a very large art exhibit, 139 paintings done by an individual who was, making reconciliation of his own, and it was all about residential schools. And it was very moving. There was a lot of tears, and the proceeds that were raised, it was all on donation. People were coming in droves over the month of October, but we were there for the first night for September 30th, and people would come in, put in a donation, and there was also live music as well. And then later on, it was to go and view the art. But as they were coming in the door, Matt and I were accepting the donation. And then also, we have books here that we're selling to raise funds for the Language and Cultural Center construction. And so people were so incredibly generous. I have to say, the people that showed up, they showed up. They showed up, and they were moved. They were appreciative. They were just incredible. And again, I met a lot of just wonderful people, and the staff and the people at Native Renaissance. Wow, like what an amazing event. Again, it's a very difficult event, right? There was people standing by. It was, triggering for some, obviously, but everyone's heart was in it 100%. Raising money for the construction of the new Language and Cultural Center, really to preserve the language, restore the language, and carry it on. So those are the two events I've been to. And then, upcoming events, I'm going back to Tyendinaga November 19th. There's a Christmas art and crafts sale there at the Mohawk Community Center. And I'm hoping to be with Jody on December 3rd or 4th for the event in Milton. We were just chatting about it last night, so I'm really hoping to be there as well with the books. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it's so great just to see when people have the courage to do this, right? We know that we're like, conduits or channels or light posts, right, for other people, and that's what this is all about. This is about connection to the people, to each other, and knowing that we're just spreading love and encouragement for people to really look to their own story. And I mean, there's so many. Just in the last 4 months, I've had people reach out saying, "Hey, would you share? Would you share?" And so this really I got a couple of extra nudges from Paula and and Grandma Renee, because this is where we know our roots are waking up, and people are coming home, and this is just to become a good platform for people to start talking. And I love it. I love networking. It's always been a part of who I am. My mom's watching, so she can let you know that I've always been about that, connecting people and elevating, supporting each other. So I have we have 3 books here I liked them all. I liked all the stories. Are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to read one a little bit from all of them, or one of them?
I
And
think I'll read a little bit from these two, so my little bookmarks in there. So
oh, good, yeah.
I marked a couple of little paragraphs.
Amazing. So yeah, if you can, because I'm always intrigued just because of I know the stuff that I do, and that when you're doing this work, and there's always more to the writing. There's always more to that moment in time where you're creating this. That there's just so many other elements
Mm-hmm.
that add to the energy of this. So share a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So I'll share a little bit. So as I was mentioning before, when we discovered our ancestry, and I did find it very sad that we lost our connection, and that and then as I was researching the ancestry to find, we were direct descendants to Captain John Deserontin. And for those of you who don't know, because many people don't, we didn't learn this in school. He was in the Mohawk Valley, allied to the British during the American Revolutionary War. Joseph Brant was there too. The British and the Mohawks and other communities fought together, but unfortunately, we know the history. The Americans won, and the Mohawks and many others had to flee the Mohawk Valley and leave their ancestral homeland. And so they ended up, with Joseph Brant, Six Nations Grand River, and Captain John decided to go to the Bay of Quinte, Tyendinaga. So he was one of the founders. So, that's kind of where I was going with this, is to, when I was kind of putting the books together, that initially it was from a point of sadness that we didn't learn any of this in school. Sad that I didn't have the opportunity to grow up knowing this. Sad that I didn't grow up in community. Like, it was just, I was really sad. But then I felt determined and compelled. Well, you know what? I can change that. I can reach out to community. I can reestablish connection. I can provide education and inspiration. I can share with my children. We can be proud of our ancestry. We don't have to hide anymore. So that's kind of what I was thinking when I kind of started off the whole project and dug into the research. So I'll just read the first paragraph, and that kind of ties into my next book. So I'll just take a minute here to read it. So just so you can see the cover. Deserontin means where the lightning has struck. So that's, you can see the image. So that's the image that Callie Hill and the amazing people at the Language Center, they put together a composite of Captain John. I mentioned before that there's no photographs or paintings of him. So they based it on ancestry kind of descriptions of him. So to me, this just makes it a little bit more authentic to have that. And the other thing that TTO did was to translate the book forward into Mohawk for me. So that was amazing, because we all felt it was important to have language in the book as well, since it's to preserve language and help construct the new language and cultural center. So I'll just read a little bit now. So just to kind of set this up, it's really a story within the story. So it's a story of a mother teaching her two children about their ancestor during a thunder and lightning storm. So the mom says, "Tonight is the perfect night during this incredible thunder and lightning storm to tell you a true story about your great, 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 great grandfather, Mohawk chief and British Army Captain John Deserontin. Deserontin actually means where the lightning has struck. The storm is especially strong tonight, much like Captain John was. This story is about his resilience, determination, and love for his people. I feel this is his way of telling us that you are ready to hear his story." Over the years, I've uncovered more and more details about him. I learned about the great many things he did for his people, and the impact can be seen and felt today. So that's how I kick it off. And then at the end, then it goes through the history of what I mentioned, the American Revolutionary War, and the Treaty 3.5, that was obtained, the Simcoe Deed in 1793. I'd like to mention that since it is Treaty Week. And that was 10 years of determination on the part of Captain John to achieve that. So then I finish off the book by saying, "Did you see that?" This is again the mom talking to the children. "A huge flash of lightning just struck near our sugar maple tree. That lightning strike feels like it's a sign from Captain John. Perhaps he is with us tonight. I hope our story of remembrance brings him peace as we honor him and that his legacy continues to live on. I am very grateful for everything Captain John did. He loved his people and wanted to protect them and generations to come. And that's how I close that book off. And it's a little bit of a foreshadow because the next story is about the oldest sugar maple tree in the world, the wishing tree, which is also a Mohawk legend. So that's why I ended off where the lightning has struck, with the lightning striking near the sugar maple tree, because it's a carry forward of the next story to come. So if you like, Jody, I could read a little bit more about from the wishing tree
Yeah. Did
story.
you want to read a little bit from there? Yeah, it might as well. We're
Sure.
here. We have a few more minutes. Let's do it.
Okay. So really, my feelings and thoughts about the wishing tree, to kind of tie it back, was to remember, who you are and where you came from, and to wish for something that's really meaningful and important to you. And I'll tell you, I don't mind to share, like, some people have said to me, not that many, but, oh, are you making a lot of money from this? How are you doing? And I said, I'm not making any money from this. That's not my goal. That's not my objective. My plan, my initiative is to give back to community, to connect to community. That's what I wish for, to help my community. So that's kind of what I ask at the end of the book. What would you wish for? And to kind of make people stop and think. It's kind of a book to be mindful about what's really important in your life. It's not material things. It's your friends, it's your family, it's having that spiritual connection, that spiritual income, if you will, rather than, other. So I'll just kind of read a little bit, because I know we're getting close to time. So the mother is, again, the mother telling the story to the two children. The story I'm going to tell you tonight makes me think about the story I told you previously about our ancestor. And the kids say, I remember that story, the lightning story about our ancestor, Captain John. And the mother says, yes, that's right. And tonight's story has lightning in it too. I'll get to that part later, but first let's talk about your birthdays. And then it goes on to talk about birthdays and how people wish, blowing candles off of a cake. But then it gets into the wishing tree, to describe how that all took place. So centuries ago, Indigenous children would search the ground for pieces of falling bark, and they would pick up those pieces of bark and toss them high up into this tree to make their wish. So the wishing tree was actually the oldest sugar maple tree in the entire world, and it had a special significance to Indigenous people who believed the tree was magic. And so that's how people would make their wishes, by throwing the bark up into the tree. And if it stayed there, the wish would come true. But unfortunately, word got out, and then tourists started coming. And so slowly but surely, cars and additional traffic on the road began to hurt and damage the tree's vast root system. The wishing tree was suffering, and the harm couldn't be stopped. So what happened? In 1925, lightning struck the tree. And our legends say that a sugar maple tree struck by lightning is the most powerful tree of all. So I imagine, this is what I put in the story, I think, and I imagine that maybe it was a sign from the spirit of Captain John, whose name we remember means where the lightning has struck. Maybe it was his way of helping the tree lessen its pain and suffering, and then eventually its life ended, and it was finally cut down. So anyway, so I've tied those two in together, and in the end, I say it is my wish that people honor the wishing tree by planting trees in local forests. I also wish one day to acknowledge and remember where that magical tree once stood with a plaque. And what would you wish for? So it's a great story to tell children.
Sorry, my dog loves to talk in the middle of these things. So you know what? And I think as you're talking and as you're sharing, like I just feel like I see these books being so much more, right? So much more teaching, and there's just so much in here that I know, just from our teachings, even going through the Thanksgiving address and what all of these, the thunder beams and the lightning, like all of this has such deep understanding. And I just I'm so happy for you. that you're making this journey and that you're able to share these stories and your healing journey and your connection to culture with not just like the people that have helped you do this, but your children, and then their children. It's just this whole beginning and understanding that I've been shared that when we do this work and this healing, we heal our
Mhm.
intergenerational lines, like our both ways, like our children and our ancestors lineage. And I believe that, and I think that that's one of the reasons why when I found out that if when we believe in and really practice our indigenous ways, that those are beliefs, that the more we learn and the more we understand and the more we bring these practices into our regular life, it all does become full and healing for our children. So, and many other people's children. We have to know that some people feel the same things that we do, understand the same things that we do, but may not have that that position to be able to do these things. So I'm sure, Pamela, you are inspiring so many people around you. I'm inspired, and have been since I met you, just, seeing these beautiful words that you were able to put in. And some of these, like, it just feels like it's so right. Even right. Everything about
Mhm.
the drawings, the illustration, and, they're so neat. Like I've never seen anything really like this. So I feel the love in your print. And so Nyawa for sharing this with us. And is there anything else that we'd like to add for everyone? Is there a way that we can reach you, or is there a place to buy these books, like besides at the fair, hopefully December 3rd and 4th in Milton, where we're having our Indigenous Artisan Fair again. We have some really great artisans that have signed up, and so we're really grateful for that. But is it just your lightning spark books at gmail.com?
Yes, I think that's the best way. I mean, I do have a website, but I have not engaged Shopify or anything like that. I am trying to keep costs to a bare minimum in order to give the maximum proceeds back to TTO. So at the present moment, the best way to order books is just email me at that email, lightningsparkbooks@gmail.com, and I will respond. Just please provide me your name, address, any suite or unit number, postal code, and I just been mailing the books out in a bubble mailer, and I'll show you what they look like. And it's $25, and you get all three books. And I would just accept an e-transfer. And once you place the order, I'll send you. I have a separate email that I set up for e-transfer. It's kind of funny, so don't laugh. Um, a lot of emails they block, right? If you're doing e-transfer, so I've used my old ancient
Like
AOL account. It's
oh yeah,
PE Devonshire at AOL.com. So yes, you can now.
I
But
did see that
anyway,
one. I was
pardon?
wondering. I said I did see that email. That's what I was
Yeah.
using at the beginning. I was like, my husband's ancient too. He uses simpatico, but he
Oh
says
man.
the same thing. It's like safer. Anyway,
But
whatever.
it works. So my
Yeah.
my corporate
Oh
one
yeah.
blocks, they don't like me using that for transfer, and Lightning Spark, a Gmail, it can be funny. So I thought, okay, let's use this one. It doesn't seem to block anything. But anyway, so that's what it is. So, I have I actually tied different colored ribbons to my bundles. So orange, symbolizing truth and reconciliation, and
Mhm.
purple. Purple is the color of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. So I have different colored ribbons. If anyone has a preference, let me know. If I can accommodate, I will. But right now I have purple, orange, and the color of TTO is green. So I did include some green for them. So if let me know. And I've been really keeping up very well with orders. I've been managing to get to the post office twice a week, and so there's very few delays. And I actually got my first order to Newfoundland. I'm very excited
Ah,
about that. So someone I met on a social purpose webcast, they ordered 10 books. And a friend of mine from my previous organization lives in Vancouver. So I've shipped to her so I can, proudly say, they're coast to coast.
coast to coast.
Yeah, but with a focus of, in Ontario. But, I'm really excited. And I have to say, again, thank you to everyone. I'm incredibly grateful for everyone that's helped me on this journey, and for supporting the endeavor. And thank you to you, Jody. I'm so happy to be here today. really fantastic to see. Um,
I'm getting a little feedback, so I hope I'm not cutting you off right now. Oh, I'm
yeah,
not
I
sure
am
if
too. I'm just going to.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was on your end or my end. So there's that's probably our time. That's like, okay, you guys are done. All this little small talk, we're leaving. Again, thank you so much. And if there is anything more that we can do, Grandmother's Voice will easily, we would love to help you distribute these. We have, we have our different venues that we do. And so we can definitely talk about that and then share these with the contacts that I have in the school boards, because I really do feel and see that there's some really good curriculum and learning in this. And so we'll do whatever we can. Any of those teachers watching, if you are interested in taking a look at some of these, let me know, and we'll get our hands on some for you to look and see how we can start to share this in the education realm, because I think it's so important, especially if there isn't this history there, and this is really important. It's important for everyone. So, Nyawa, Pamela, we'll see you soon. I may see you tonight. I'll text you.
All right. Looking forward to that too. Thank you, Jody. And thank you everyone for watching. Have a fantastic day now.
Nyawa, actually, before we go, let's just remind everyone, Treaty Week, continue your learning and continue to just understand. Well, I have my wampum earrings on today, actually, that, treaty is about relationship, right? These are oh yeah, I see them. These are Bruno Henry's earrings that I love. And you're wearing one too, something too?
I'm wearing, well, it was recently my birthday, and my partner gave me this beautiful necklace, and it's from a watch that was from the 1930s, but it has a bird in the center. And it actually, just by chance, it looks like the bird that's symbolic of Tyendinaga, and it has feathers hanging down. So it's like an old piece, but I like it because it's kind of, I don't know, it just makes me feel like ancestry. I don't know why, but I guess because it's an old watch face. But we got this when we went out to Picton, and they had the artist walk, and just saw that. And again, it just jumped off the table at me. And I said, that is beautiful. And so I'll get that as part of your birthday present. So it's gorgeous, and I love it. And it just makes me feel good to wear it today.
It's all those little pieces, these gifts from our ancestors that will begin to come to you, to reward you for this good work that you're doing, because this is not easy, but it's obviously your purpose. And so, yeah, Nyawa, Chimagwich, everything for everyone. Have a wonderful day, and continue to learn about relationships and what you can do to honor your Indigenous friends and yourself. We'll see you.